Hello everybody and welcome back to JOECMDRAWZ. Okay, so like I promised, here we have the female evolution to Hatchik, which I've actually called Chikadee. Now I did have some other name for it, but we'll get into that in a bit. But yep, this is the female only evolution for Hatchik. As I said, Hatchik will have has a gender difference, which you could see in the last video with the colours. Um, And if we just jump right into the sketching over here, you can see that I started with this really weird sketch here. It doesn't look too much like a Pokemon at the moment. I'm just, as always, your first sketches don't really look that great, but it's just trying to figure out and feel like for what kind of shapes I wanted. I knew I had an idea of like I wanted a big rounded chicken that was kind of like sat down, so I didn't want any kind of like legs to be shown because I imagine like its legs are hidden under all the massive feathers. And then I jumped to this kind of sketch here. It's a little bit better than this one. It's a little getting more into that kind of like Pokemon side, but it's still not where I want it to be. Getting some interesting shapes here, like the crest on the head, it's got a different shape. There's pattern on the wings here, simplifying that shape into just instead of having it there, just having it be this one shape here and then another shape there, which looks really cool. Then I moved on to this one down here. I was like, okay, this is looking a little bit better. You know, instead of going from here, I jumped back to kind of like this shape, breaking up into these three sections here with the pattern on it. I was like, okay, that looks pretty cool. I love where the face is coming across. Um, it's got more of like a hairstyle now here, which would probably just be a pattern. And it's obviously got the crest on top and then the kind of like fur that's coming, or the feathers, shall I say, coming off the body here, which gives it a little bit more dimensionality. And then kind of like the big rounded kind of like stomach here, and then the tail poking out there. I was like, okay, this is a good direction. I used a lot of different references, like actually like pot chickens to kind of like use it as reference, or like porcelain chickens. I used real world reference of chickens, and then other references, stuff like Staravia, Blissey as a good reference point, because that's another like motherly Pokemon um, kind of aesthetic that I wanted to get across. Here's another one which is a little bit better, where that kind of like hairstyle and crest fuse into one with the eye here, and I really like that kind of like look. It's got almost got this feather collar here, and then obviously kind of like the stomach here. I tried to maybe design a pattern where it looked like it was wearing maybe like a pinny or a kind of like piece of clothing or something, but it just wasn't working out. I again simplified the wing back into this kind of like one shape, but not like closing it. Like again using reference from Staravia, because I like the way that they draw the wings on that, as well as like reference for unpheasant, as they have this kind of like one shape here, and then I've kind of simplified the shape down into a slope. So I'm just trying to find the balance between details and kind of like detail. I then moved on to kind of like these sketches here. I like the way that they were going. This one was more based on like a pot chicken, where you know like maybe you put eggs or bread or something else in there. If you Google them, you can find them. And it's obviously got like a pattern on the bottom of here, and again back to the simplified wing design, and then more of a complicated kind of like shape up here. I changed the pattern on the feathers here to more like maybe a high collar, with the eye actually poking out here, and then giving off this very aggressive mother hen kind of look, which is what I wanted to get across. The idea for this was that I wanted to get across this very aggressive mother that protects her babies. So that's the kind of energy I was going for. A little bit more complicated on the tail feathers here, just trying to break up these shapes instead of just being surrounded. And then at the top here, the crest here, trying to break up into more simplified shapes. And I was really liking that. I also went down here, maybe thought, oh, maybe I could just get rid of the eye. And it looks pretty cool. It has that kind of like menacing feel. I even changed up the tail here again, um, just trying to simplify that down even further, which looks really cool. Changing up the pattern here, maybe to hiding behind the wings, stuff like that. Change up some stuff here, like some feathers poking out there. But you know, I was like, okay, that looks really cool. Then I moved on to kind of like trying to figure out, well, what else can I do? Because it doesn't look as detailed as I wanted it. and I saw this reference from actually P-Dove, where it has its if you see that image, if you Google P-Dove, you can kind of see that image where it has like the wing out, and I was like, okay, that looks really cool. That's like another key visual element that I want to add in there. It's like kind of almost like putting its wing out, kind of like stopping you, like no, that you can't go any further, which is kind of really cool aesthetic that I wanted to get across. Um, as you can see, I also changed up the head here. For zoom in, you can see like that crest and almost like hairstyles almost fused together to make its own unique shape, which I really, really like. I also, like I said, I like the wing that's poking out. I like the shapes that are coming out here. Um, and I also like kind of like the pattern that's poking out from here. So it's almost like it's wearing kind of like a piece of clothing, and just its eye that's poking out from there. I messed around with the colors a bit. I didn't know whether we wanted to do like go more on the just pink route, whether we wanted to bring more on traditional chicken colors like the browns and the reds, um, stuff like that. I liked these two, and I was messing around with some colors, and I think I eventually came to this design here, which I really, really liked. It's got a bit of shading, a bit of detail. That I came to the inking, I was like, okay, that looks really nice. I've got some nice shapes going on. I like the way this is turning out. Um, I do like the colors a lot. I even kind of added this kind of canvasy background, just a little bit more visually interesting for the eye. Um, and I added that. I even did the shiny here, which is I really, really like this kind of like really electrically sky blue that you would be able to find as if you counted it in the wild. A wild chickadee would shiny would be this like nice sky bluish color with some varying values. You got lighter values here on the kind of like body area and on the wing here, and then more saturated values like on the top part here and the kind of like feathered pattern here, and then just really, really white kind of like values for like the eye, which I really, really like. So that's a really nice shiny version, and I kind of wanted to push the detail a little bit further, so I kind of added some extra stuff here, so some extra shading, some extra highlights, and even some actually kind of bounce light that's coming from the actual background here. So you can see that over here, you can see it kind of over here as well. Just trying to add a little bit more three-dimensionality to the actual final design as well. Um, so getting into the naming convention now for Chickadee. Um, I struggled a lot with this actually. I wanted to kind of think of a name that sounded unique, but also very still traditionally Pokemon like or Pokemon sounding. So other ones I had in mind were like Henma, stuff like that. I even looked at like the genus of which chickens belong to, trying to figure out like, well, what's work with like the name for birds or Tori in Japanese, stuff like that. All sorts of stuff to do with like mothers or mums and stuff like that. Just trying to figure out, well, where's my inspiration going to come from? What am I going to do to kind of like make it sound as authentic as possible, because every element of a design, right down to the naming convention, is all super important. Um, Character names and stuff and places is extremely important. So I really wanted to get across, that across that this is just as important as the overall final design itself. But I eventually settled on Chickadee. Well, chick and chicka for obviously for chickens, which is pretty self-explanatory. And the D part is there just to kind of like fill something out. It's also kind of like how mothers kind of almost give nicknames to their children to kind of like little pet names to make them a little bit cuter, I guess. And Chickadee is kind of like one like, oh, come here, my little chickadee. Stuff like that, I think, is kind of like adorable and kind of like accentuates that kind of motherly kind of feel that and energy that I wanted this Pokemon design to have. But anyway, Chickadee is a normal fairy type. I didn't just want to make it a flying type because that's just really boring. Because usually Route 1 birds or like early in-game birds aren't exactly very interesting. They're all just flying on normal types, and I really didn't want to make it like that. I really wanted it to make a Pokemon that you would actually be able to get sort of early in-game and kind of use effectively. Obviously, Hatchik will probably just be normal type, but it can learn obviously flying type moves, such as Peck and Scratch, and maybe Gust as well. But Chickadee is a normal fairy type. Fairy type is kind of a little bit more to the motherly side, as kind of. I'd still argue that Blitzy should have gotten a Galarian form and should have been more of a normal fairy type, which would have probably buffed it as well and give it a little bit more moves to work with. But Chickadee will be a normal fairy type, normal typing, obviously due to its kind of affiliation with a normal animal. But I really love the way it turned out. It would probably have some sort of abilities like Fluffy or Thick Fat, which work really, really well. I did try and come up with something new and unique, something like Feather Guard, where it would kind of like almost act like a substitute, but I thought that might be a bit too overpowered. Um, but yeah, that's the female only evolution for Hatchik, which is Chikadee. Let me know what you think. The Pokedex entry is pretty cool as well. Chickadee, the mother hen Pokemon. Chickadee will fiercely protect their newborns no matter what, even defending against their own trainer. They become very aggressive and they become very aggressive and they love to kind of like nurture and smother and kind of like look after all sorts of baby Pokemon. There have been reports and cases of Chickadee actually looking after other Pokemon's eggs that have been abandoned or baby Pokemon that have been left or abandoned by their trainers, which again accentuates that motherly feel. But yeah, that is the kind of like Chickadee final evolution and the kind of like final illustration. Let me know what you think. It's really cool to see the kind of evolution, no pun intended, of the kind of like first sketch here that isn't very flattering and interesting to kind of like the final illustration and the shiny over here, which is I think it's very pleasing to look at. It's got some nice colors. I think it looks very Pokemon-esque, stuff like that. And hopefully I've explained it a little bit better. So you can understand how much time and effort goes into kind of like actually doing this. So I really love the final result. Let me know, would you want Chickadee on your team or would you want the male evolution, which we'll get into the next video. But look forward to that. If you did get this far, thank you very much for watching and listening to me drone on. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share my work around, all that good jazz. Thank you and see you next time. Bye! Hey there, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share my work around. I'll see you next time.